Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Going On Daily Live. I'm your host, Becky, here with Mr. Martin. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Becky. How are you doing?
As good as can be expected for screaming at my children all morning.
Oh my,
All
okay,
good.
in there. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I
you
mean, it's
listen. I made it.
like it's a Monday morning. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't my children be driving me crazy? Why
Uh,
wouldn't they want to stay home again for the 900th time? So we had a ton of snow days over the last 2, 3 weeks because it
okay.
was like minus, oh gosh, 42 Fahrenheit. It
Okay. A
was,
little chilly. A little
yeah.
chilly.
But
Yeah.
then yesterday, like yesterday was +9. So what is that? Double it and add 30, about 48 degrees plus
Okay.
48. So like this was all in the same week. It was very different. So it's
Mm,
like,
mm,
snow day to like everything's really melted. Now it's really icy. Buses aren't running. Kids aren't going to school. So anyway, my kids have been off a ton. So I think they're just enjoying not
right.
going. And so of course my kid today, I'm sick. I can't go. And I'm like, you're not freaking sick. I was like screaming. So anyways, she's home because I
Okay.
came. So
Okay.
here we
I promise I will give you no cause to scream at me today.
are.
The only thing I can promise.
This is the easy part of my day. Okay.
Okay.
This is the relaxing part of my
Right.
day,
Yeah,
is doing a podcast, doing something I love.
yeah.
If you also love our podcast, you like that segue? If you also like our podcast, go check us out on our different socials. We have all the socials that you could possibly think of, but check us out on Facebook, first of all, because we have 10,000 followers over there. You could be watching online. Oh, Ron's here. Okay.
Yep, tech issues. Tech
I,
issues.
tech issues. Okay.
Well, ignore the man behind the
Pay
curtain.
no attention. Yes. Yeah.
Pay no attention. That's right. To the man behind the curtain. That's right.
Yeah.
So check us out on Facebook at Rhode Island Broadcasting or RI Broadcasting. You can find us there. Subscribe, send the show stars, all the things. You can also check us out on YouTube. Simply type in Rhode Island Broadcasting up top. You can. Oh, what does Ron say? I couldn't see chat on
Go
program.
to the
Okay.
program.
Well,
Okay.
I can see chat, so
I
chat is
can see
good.
it. Okay.
On YouTube at Rhode Island Broadcasting. You can subscribe to us there, catch us live, and also on Twitch at RI_broadcasting. You can send the show bits and you can also watch us live. So those are the three platforms where you can watch us live. The other social medias, you can just follow us, type in Rhode Island Broadcasting. I'm sure you will find it. Like, subscribe, share, all the things. We need your support. And of course, come on over to Patreon at RI Broadcasting and get yourself some merchandise and help keep the show going.
Do it.
So, without further ado, what do we got today? Oh, I'm starting. Okay.
Yeah.
This is, well, me, doom and gloom on a Monday. So, but I thought it was like fairly appropriate, for me having had breast cancer. Let's talk about breast cancer today. So,
Okay.
research is finding an alarming increase of breast cancer rates among women under 40. Cha-ching, me right
Ooh,
here, 36
okay.
when I found out, especially in 5 particular states, which
Okay.
does not make any sense to me at
Okay.
all. So, breast cancer rates have gone up in some regions by 32%.
That's significant.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge.
That's
Okay. Like at once upon a time, breast cancer was what, an old lady's disease or a middle-aged to old ladies disease, right? Like seeing young people is unheard of. Do you know how many young people I know with breast cancer? Like it's wild. The women that I met when I was in treatment, young.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So it says that researchers from Columbia's University, this is weird, the Mailman School of Public Health, I don't know why it's called that. They looked at data from all 50 states and they found that overall breast cancer in women under 40 years old is on the rise. And it's worst in the Northeast, which had the highest absolute rate of breast cancer among women under 40. And they experienced a significant increase between the year 2001 and 2020.
Okay.
These studies were published just a couple weeks, not even like a week ago, in the Cancer Causes and Control Journal.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that crazy?
That
It
is.
says it says that it was unknown if incidence trends varied by U.S. geographic region, but obviously, like if they're finding majority of these are in the Northeast, there's got to be something going on
Yeah.
up
What's the
there.
connection? Yeah. And
Yeah.
20 years of 15 years of data. That's
Lot
not a
of
small, that's a
data.
good, that's a nice net to, to capture a trend.
Yeah,
I'll ask my wife about this. She's a radiologist.
please.
She spends a lot of time,
Of
not
course.
exclusively, but a lot of time screening for breast cancers. And
Yes.
this is this is something worth talking about.
It
But
was a radiologist who confirmed that I had it.
mhm,
And, I kept saying, "Oh, well, like, what do you think?" Because she wanted to biopsy. And I said,
yeah,
"No, no, no, I'm too
no,
crunchy for a biopsy. Absolutely not." She
mm,
convinced me I needed a biopsy. And the whole time you could see panic in her
mm,
eyes and
mm,
her tone, but she can't say anything. So it
no,
was like, I'm just going to put rush on this. I just want to see it. I just want to make sure. I just want to,
yeah.
and I'm like, okay, like so
Okay.
naive. Oh, okay. But
Uh,
yes, it was because of her diligence here
yeah,
that I
it's
got those results
interesting.
fast.
Barb deals with that a lot when she was doing, biopsies. People do get nervous, and
Mhm.
more often than not, by an overwhelming majority, you do a biopsy, you're okay. And so you do want to calm people down and know
Oh, we're losing you here, Martin. We're losing
this.
you. Oh,
Yeah, all
okay,
am I
both,
back?
both.
But I'm
Uh,
back now.
yes. Okay, so
All right.
Barb says
Oh,
biopsies. People are nervous, and that's where we
they're
cut out.
nervous. They want to get results as soon as they can.
Yes.
But most of the time, it's good news. But that's
Huh.
some of the times it is not good news. So
Sometimes
the
it's not good
emotions,
news.
yes, the emotions are real. It's fraught with that kind of emotional response, and that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Managing that on the patient and trying to make them feel calm. Because why get upset
Yeah.
when you don't have to? But
Right.
sometimes you go to that next level, and it's troubling that cancer is up in that region. The breast cancer is
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
Treatments are good and are getting better all the time. That's the other side of the
Yeah.
coin. But one would hope that we could minimize the development of the breast cancer. I couldn't even venture to
Right.
guess what's causing that.
For sure. I mean, there's definitely a lot of funding and research that goes into breast cancer, sort of more specifically. Why? Maybe it's just because there's more rates of it. I don't know.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, let's see what else it says. It says our findings. This is from Rebecca Kim. She's PhD assistant professor of epidemiology at the Columbia Mailman School. She
mm,
says our findings can more accurately inform whether exposures that vary in prevalence across the USA also contributes to breast cancer risk in younger women.
mm.
So let's talk about what those 5 states are:
Okay.
New York,
Okay.
New Jersey,
Hmm.
Hawaii, which is not obviously the Northeast. That's kind of a random one. Can,
That's an outlier. That's an
yeah,
outlier.
that's right. Connecticut and Maryland. So four
Okay.
of them of the five are, and it says in those 5 states, the breast cancer rates were 32% higher than those with the lowest incidence.
Mm.
So Hawaii, like wild card, okay? But
Yeah. Yeah.
Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Maryland are all in
It's a
close
nexus. Yeah.
proximity
Oh
to
yeah.
each other. So
Yeah.
what the heck is going on? Is your water weird? Is there like, I don't know, a whole bunch of like wind farms nearby? Like I just don't know what the correlation could be.
That's the question. What is there a correlation? What is the correlation? In New Jersey, it's a fairly big state in terms of
Yeah.
the distance it
Yeah.
covers, right? New York is huge, Connecticut not so much.
Right.
Maryland, I don't know. Someone a long time ago, we had friends who had breast cancer. Some did not survive,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
someone asked, "What's wrong with where we were living? Is there something wrong with Newtown where we
Right.
live?"
Right. Right.
And
Right.
with all these people, and the answer was, well, two things. No, because even though we knew a fair amount of people, percentage wise and statistically, it was not an anomaly. It was nothing alarming in that. It was
Mhm.
other than it's unfortunate that people we knew were afflicted with this. And the
Mhm.
other thing is not all breast cancers are alike. It's a big
Not
umbrella,
even a little
and
bit.
there's
Yes.
many different cancers.
Yep.
So if in a town, as an example, I'm not saying this happened in Newtown, 40 women of a certain age range within a certain time period got a very specific type of breast cancer.
Mhm.
That would be alarming. That would be what's in the water,
Yes.
what's in the air, what is
Absolutely.
that factory
Yes.
doing, or is it what restaurant is belching stuff out? So that when you
Exactly.
drill down into the
You
math,
live near a power plant kind of
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
it gets more, it reveals more. But this is an extraordinary number over a
Yes.
wide area, and to wide,
E
worth further
yeah,
investigation.
for
You know,
sure.
but
Now,
yeah.
co that Rebecca Kem from the university, she says the increase in incidents we are seeing is alarming and it cannot be explained by genetic factors alone,
Mm,
which evolve over much longer periods,
yeah.
nor by changes in screening practices, given that women under 40 years are below the recommended age for routine
Mhm.
mammograms.
Right.
So now it says that women are starting to get screened for breast cancer at 40. And
Mhm.
that's a fairly new development, at least
Yes.
in the States. I know that when I said, something's wrong, my guy said, I don't even want to send you for a mammogram because you're too young, but I'll send you for an ultrasound. Which to me, as like crunchy Becky, I appreciated. Yeah, no radiation, perfect.
Yeah.
Um, but I ended up getting one anyway. And
Yes.
so it's like, but like I should have known better because I had a sister-in-law, like I was married once before. His sister passed away when she was 25 of breast cancer.
Mm.
So it's like I know that it does affect young people, but
Yes.
in my 36-year-old healthy brain, I was like,
Mm.
no way. No
Not
way
me.
is it. No, why would it? So the other thing I find interesting here, it says that most insurance plans cover routine mammograms for women. It says not all will cover it when you're this young. So the American healthcare system is very bizarre to me because this is like it's
Me
nothing.
too. Yeah, me too.
I
And,
like I have a bone scan and a CT scan next week. It's covered because I'm Canadian. It doesn't like it takes months to get into it, but it's free at least. Those things are expensive normally. But there is somewhere that you can contact if you fall below the federal poverty line, and then you can find screening for that in your area, which again is wild that you have to like qualify if you, whatever. Anyways, I
yeah.
digress. One thing I found interesting, I went to the Susan G. Komen website. This
Mhm.
is like a breast cancer hub here,
Yes.
but it was
Yeah.
saying that breast cancer rates among people like it's varying among all kinds of people, men and women, not just women, but men also.
Yes. Yes.
My friend's dad has breast cancer.
Yes.
I mean, I just feel like there would be, I don't know, like I almost feel like that would be embarrassing as a man to be like, oh, I have cancer. What kind? Breast.
I can't
Like,
imagine. And the only thing that would mitigate that is the severity of the disease. And you're like, yeah, all of
right.
a sudden that the embarrassment might melt away because it is
Yeah.
so serious. But I was surprised to learn that too. But yes, that
Totally.
you
Well,
get.
here are the stats. So, for in 2025, it's estimated the amount of women in the states there will be 316,950 new cases of invasive breast cancer,
Mm,
which includes new cases of primary breast cancer, not breast recurrences. So these are people who were perfectly healthy who now
okay.
have breast cancer. 316,000. That's insane. 59,000 cases of ductal carcinoma in situ. So that's like early stage. It hasn't progressed past like the
Hmm.
one little cell. And 42,000, I hated reading this, 42,000 breast cancer deaths. Okay. Although that's, about 9% of the total of new cases. So, I mean, that's pretty small,
Hmm.
but still horrible. For men in 2025, it says that 2,800 new cases. So obviously that's a mere fraction of
Yeah.
300
Yeah.
whatever thousand, but 2,800 new cases of invasive breast cancer and 510 breast cancer deaths for men.
Mm,
So it's just so interesting to me
yeah.
that everything is on the rise. You really, like you said, there's no correlation. Like I want to find an answer to why. Is it something everyone's taking? Is it stress? Is it being in front of our phones? Is it the computer work? I don't know. Like what for me, there was never a reason why I got it. It wasn't family. It wasn't
Mhm.
hormones. There, it was nothing. So it was just, I was luck of the draw, one of those
That's right.
lucky guys.
Yeah.
So it's like for someone like me, I want to know why. What did I do that? But who
Mhm.
knows, right? We never are gonna find out.
I don't know if it's any comfort, but you probably did nothing. It's not Becky. If only
Yeah, yeah,
you wouldn't have gotten cancer. It
right,
just whatever that mutation came about, whatever there was a disposition.
yeah,
But I don't know neither. But chances are, some people will get cancer. It's a scourge,
yeah,
and we're all vulnerable to it. To
Mhm.
it, most people will not get it, but it's part of the human condition. It
Mhm.
stinks, and thank goodness we have teams of people dedicating their
Right.
lives to detect it, treat it.
Right.
They're developing new protocols all the time, and maybe we
Mhm.
get new data as to how to avoid it. We're finding
Yes.
out now that many cancers are it's a biological thing. It's like we can protect
Yeah.
ourselves with vaccination. It's having a profoundly
Yeah, I've
positive
heard that.
impact. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
interesting.
it's
Yeah,
all evolving.
Ron says it's a horrible disease. And yeah, it is, but I think what's really horrible is the treatment is so hard on the body,
It
and
is.
I think that's what makes it so horrible. Like, quite honestly, if it was to come back, I don't know if I would go the same route just
Hmm.
because of how hard it's been. During it is one thing, you're in survival mode, but like the last year coming through it
Hmm.
has been really hard. Like, my body hurts all the
Yes.
time. My
Uh,
brain is so foggy all the time. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if I would go the same route, but we'll see. I don't hopefully I never,
let us
knock
hope
on
you don't
wood,
have to make
I
that
never have to go
decision.
through that
You stay
again.
healthy,
Yes,
and for many people, it stays in remission.
for
My
sure.
mom, my mom was afflicted with breast cancer not too
Mhm.
long ago, late in her life, in her 70s, and
Yeah.
she was a healthy person, by and large. It has remained in remission, thank goodness. But interestingly, it it was growing in an area very hard to detect conventionally. And
Interesting.
the way they found it was she also had another type of cancer called Waldenstrom syndrome,
Oh,
which is a blood cancer, and
oh,
happily that can be managed.
oh,
That
okay.
if you manage that, it does not necessarily need to be fatal. But
Interesting.
they found the breast cancer because of follow-ups to the Waldenstrom syndrome. And
Wow.
my wife's a radiologist. And my mom asked, how come the doctors didn't see it from the regular mammograms? And my wife
Right.
looked at it because I don't know if I would have found that. It's where it's growing and how.
Hidden.
And
Mm,
that's rare. That's rare, but it
right.
happens. But it was something in her follow-up to Waldenstrom's that tipped off the doctor. So
Wow.
oddly enough, having one cancer probably saved
Mm,
her life from another
wow.
cancer, which is
Wow.
only to say how odd and horrible cancer is.
It's sneaky, that's for sure.
Yes.
It can
Yeah.
affect anybody. Ron is saying, where's the best place to donate? I can't answer that. I don't know. I do believe that a lot of the research does go to finding a cure. I also think there's a lot of CEOs getting rich somewhere. So I'm a torn on that. I honestly think, like, just having gone through it and having friends go through it, like, most people who are going through it lately have GoFundMe set up, to help out with the cost of not going to work, or in some cases, in the American cases, like, having to pay for your healthcare. You
Mm.
know, this is a huge tool. I met a girl from Seattle. She's passed now, but she had breast cancer, and her treatment over the last few years was over $2 million.
Mm.
Like, that's wild. That's not
Yeah.
right. I'm sure
No,
mine
it's
was
not. It's not.
hundreds of thousands, but at least, most of mine was covered. And the one that wasn't covered was about 30,000. My benefits ended up pitching in and
Mm.
covering 80% of it, and then the cancer center covered the other 20. So
Mm.
nothing ever had to come out of my pocket. Thank the Lord.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one, Ron, unfortunately. I guess, do you research and see where all the money is going and how much the CEO takes?
Right.
That's my
Y
thing.
There are a lot of places one could consider, and I think some are better than others. I would, off the top of my head, Sloan Kettering. There we go. The
Right.
new
Yeah,
cancer research,
Memorial Sloan
cancer
Kettering.
hospital, Memorial
Yeah.
Sloan Kettering. If you said, I have to do it today, and I don't, call the people at Sloan Kettering, and the
Yeah.
money will be put to good use.
I
But
think too, like a local, like the
mm,
the local cancer center in your
mhm.
town.
Yeah.
Like, I had a lot of negative feelings towards my cancer center going into it because, I watched my sister-in-law go through it, and I hated it. But man, they were so good to me.
Mm,
They took care of me. They had a wig library where you could just borrow wigs. They had
gosh.
the best cafeteria with, like, very inexpensive food. Parking was fairly cheap. Like,
Mhm.
it just wasn't a bad experience. When I'm there, I'm not angry. I don't have PTSD going in there. You
Right.
know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, so maybe a local place.
Sure, that's a
I don't
wonderful
know.
idea.
Yeah.
People take care of each other. Find ways to take
Yeah.
care of each other, and for the communities and organizations that are already doing that, thank
Mhm.
you, and let's support them. 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
And later on in the show, we'll talk about another one of my topics. It does talk about charity and stuff, so maybe we'll get into this then.
Okay.
But let's dive into yours. Let's talk about your trip to Washington D.C.
Oh my God! Following up the cancer story, I'm living my best life.
That's okay.
So we go to DC, a couple times a year, 4 to 5 times a year, mostly because our daughter's still going to school down there, so
Right.
it's nice to
Yes.
see her. But we lived in Baltimore one year, just
Okay.
outside of DC for 4 years. And we have a lot of friends there, so
Cool.
we know how to get there without a lot of fuss, even though there could be traffic. And our daughter's there,
Right.
so we have one of our trips, and it was a short one. I mean, we were there less than 48 hours. Uh, but I thought, well, this could be fun because we talk about what I did. And I would say this: when you go to DC, obviously it is our nation's capital here in
Mhm.
America, and
Mhm.
you think of, well, I'm down there, I've got to go to the government buildings. I'd like to
Of
go see the
course.
Capitol, right?
Yeah, of course.
The White House, even Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So I've done that, been all of those buildings on several occasions, and that's all wonderful. But so after you've done that, what else can you do? And I'm just here to say that there is so much to do in Washington
Is
D.C.
there?
Yes, and even though there were a lot of creeps and crumb bums and lobbyists
Crumb bum.
and thieves and Harbaugh.
Yes.
It is a great place for so many reasons. So I'll touch upon some of the things
Yes,
we
please.
did this weekend, which is not the big museums, because that's another thing. Go visit one wonderful, extraordinary museums with extraordinary collections, most of them free, not all of them,
Mhm.
most of them. You got your government buildings, but what else can you do?
Right.
And there is plenty. So I'll start off by saying, our daughter took us around to neighborhoods she likes, and she took us
Okay.
to uh, DuPont Circle and Adams Morgan. And for people who live there, particularly young people, these are very hip neighborhoods. There
Okay.
are you can when you're in DC, it's like traveling the world in miniature. And
Mm.
if you want to travel the world, or even if you do travel the world, but you don't have the time necessarily to take 2 weeks to go all over Asia or
Right.
Europe or Africa, but you but
Mm.
you want to get a sense of all that, go to DC. There is fantastic food from every
Oh, yeah.
continent on this planet.
I
I
love
think
that.
including Antarctica. I think there's an Antarctic restaurant.
Really,
Whatever
really,
that.
what even is that, fish?
I think it's food. I think it's dried food.
Oh,
No,
jeez.
there's no Antarctic restaurant, but
That's funny.
every other form of cuisine, and so that's great. We ended up going to a couple of Italian places, which sounds ho hum because
Mhm.
there's also Ethiopian food, but
Yes,
we
I
went
love
there
that.
for a good reason. We went to a restaurant in Adams Morgan called Iriki, and it's excellent Italian food. We haven't been there. The last time we were there with my daughter, she was like 3 years old,
Oh,
and so
wow.
we said, "Let's go back." And my mother is she knows the owner because she was a high school teacher of the owner's son,
Okay.
and they were close. And she said, "Have you been down there? Have you been to Eureka in a while?" I'm like, "No, no, no. Go, 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 go." And so we went, and the owner was there, and she sat down and joined us at dinner where we were sort of
Oh, nice.
reminiscing and trading stories, and it was just a beautiful restaurant, and we all had some pasta, and they hand make it there. And while the sauces were all excellent, the pasta was like my grandmother made it,
Oh, I love
right?
that.
And that's why you go. And afterwards, we had a lovely meal, and she's an interesting person who cooked and lived in Florence for almost 2 decades,
Wow.
then came to the United States and opened this restaurant. It's been going for 36 years. It is not easy to run
No.
a restaurant
Yeah,
and
I
have
bet.
be
No.
successful, right? And she's done it. So that was a nice visit. Then we walked home. Now my daughter lives close to the Capitol, so that's a bit of a
Mm.
hike to walk from DuPont Circle to the Capitol. But when you walk through the streets there, you are seeing such interesting architecture, whether
Mm.
it be the newer apartment buildings, the embassies, the different government offices, the different foundations. But you can't go 20 feet without seeing a building of distinctive architectural
That's
interest.
cool.
And that's fun. And she knows a little bit from some of the classes she's taking. She's no expert, but she could point out certain things and even know the history of one or two buildings. So
Love
it's a
that.
wonderful tour. And we had a laugh because we were on K Street. And for those of you who don't know, K Street is where there is a preponderance of lobbying firms. And that's where
Interesting.
people go and get the government to do things that suit their businesses and screw the rest of us. So
Right.
we're
Yes, of
on K
course.
Street. So we're there, and it's about 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night. And my daughter says, "Across the street, look at that. There's two ducks there." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, look, there's two ducks." There were two ducks, male and a female duck, walking down K Street. And at the same time, my wife and I said, "I'm like, oh, they're probably lobbyists. We're being cute." And but we thought of it at the same time. But then my daughter said, "Yeah, they're working hard for Big Duck." That was a
That's
cute
cute.
thing to say at the top. So
That's adorable.
we walked past the ducks. They seemed happy enough
Aw,
and had a great walk home. We were also spent some time in Adams Morgan, and that's sort of like
looks
the
like an
Greenwich Village
arts.
of DC
Yeah,
arts.
looks like an arts. Yeah, I Googled it while you
Yeah,
were talking. It looks cool. Actually, they both
it is.
do.
Yeah, and we had a great time in Adams Morgan. We went to this. My daughter took us to this bookstore called Fast Forward Books, where uh, they have the focus is on philosophy and important social issues of the day, national and international. But there's a great collection of cookbooks and sci-fi books, and it's spacious. It's not a huge store, and yet it's spacious, and it was really cool to be there. It was all to do to not spend $400 on books because
Right. Yeah,
I
of
can't
course.
I can't
Because you
buy
love your
books.
books, of
Yes,
course.
and so that was great too. There is a great if you're going to DC and you want to go to Adams Morgan. I guess the capital, the place you have to go is this nightclub called Madam's Organ, which is a little linguistic play on
Madam's organ.
yes, on Adams Morgan, and it's a jazz blues club.
Madam's organ
Madam's
on
Organ, yeah,
Adams Morgan.
Morgan, yes, isn't that cute?
That's hilarious.
Um, it's got
Oh,
a
that's
couple of
ornate.
bars inside, great music. In the warmer weather, there's a rooftop bar,
It is
and
beautiful inside.
oh yeah, it's really
Wow.
it is the place to be. And for someone my age, it's like, yeah, I'm going. If I want to go, I'm going to go. There we go.
Yeah,
Right,
why
since it sounds like
not?
an adult store, but if you're in
No.
your 20s, 30s, it's great to be it's great to be in DC and go to places like this. They do say there are the guidelines of the place: no
Mhm.
hoods, no baseball caps,
Okay.
no face coverings, but clean underwear is
Oh, yes.
suggested but not required. So there you
Okay.
go. That gives
Well,
you
I
the sense
mean,
of the
it is a
vibe.
bar. You never know who you're
Yeah,
going home with.
exactly. Yeah.
Kyle's here. Good morning, Kyle. Hugo's here. Heartbreaking. I don't even know what that says here. Heart repudi. I don't know. Anyway.
I hope that
Well,
probably not Adams Morgan, probably the breast cancer is what I think. So
right.
um,
Wow.
we had
Yeah, that looks awesome. That place.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's the kind of thing you can do in addition to or
Sounds
instead
awesome.
of all the great museums, all the great public buildings, which are
Yeah,
wonderful
which
too.
is
But
great. History is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So there is all as a life. We spent the next day in Georgetown, where Catherine
Okay.
lived for a while, and
Okay.
still goes to school at George. She was an undergrad, but now she's going to the law school. But in that
Right.
area, again, restaurants, clothing shops,
Hmm.
bookstores, little boutiques for this, that, and the other. Uh, Beautiful homes, great place to be. And the weather was pushing 50 degrees, blue
Wow.
skies, and we just had a lovely time there.
That sounds
And
wonderful.
we went to, I'll leave you with one thought. We went to another Italian restaurant. It's called Osteria Mozza, relatively new, and it Nancy Silverton, who's a famous
Yeah, I
LA
know
chef.
her.
Yeah, it's one of her places,
Okay.
and they made for me. We got there for brunch. There is a spirit called Centerba, which I like.
Mhm.
It's Italian, and it's harsh but complex and interesting in its flavors.
Okay.
And they had a bottle of it right there on the bar. I'm like, who the hell is
Wow.
drinking Centerba? And I said,
For
what
breakfast.
kind of drinks are you making with that? And he said, sometimes we spice up something. And they said, you want a shot? I'm like, no, I don't want a shot.
Well,
But
kind of.
right? It's harsh. but I like it as a compliment. So they said, "How about we make you a cocktail with it?" I'm like,
Okay.
"Okay." So this is what they asked me three questions. Do you like gin or vodka? I'm like, gin. Do
Gin.
you
Yes.
like okay? Do you like citrus or berry or cream? I'm like citrus. Okay.
Ooh.
And then I think there's just two questions. I said, all right, we'll go with that. And they
Perfect.
brought me a beautiful cocktail, which was gin with some lemon and lime juice, a little simple syrup, and then some Cointreau, the French
Okay. Yeah.
orange liquor, which I love. I'm like, oh, they
Mm-hmm.
gave me
Mm-hmm.
Cointreau, and they just topped it off with the Centerbero, just a little bit. And that's all you need. It's like more than a little bit, and you're asking for trouble. So that was fun. It was a delicious cocktail. We had a
Sounds delish.
conversation about it. Yeah. And then we had a lovely brunch, and so you add that all up. I could talk about a dozen other places in Georgetown and DuPont Circle and Adams Morgan, and maybe we'll on other shows. But it was, we were together. The food was good, not inexpensive, but not ridiculously
Mm-hmm.
expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather was great. We had another beautiful walk through the
I
nation's
love that.
capital. And so go to DC if you can go
Sounds
for three
awesome.
days. Do a day and see the government buildings. Do a day
Mm-hmm.
for some of the museums and a day to explore the community at large in
That
the
sounds
different
great.
neighborhoods. You won't regret it.
You know what? If I ever do any East Side tours, East America
Yeah,
tours,
yeah.
you're my itinerary
I'm your
guide here.
Huckleberry.
Yeah, right. You
I'll
know,
give you a nice itinerary. Yeah.
there's a big kick in Canada right now to not go to the States, to not support anything American because of the tariffs and things like that. To me, like we're going to Las Vegas next week, like it's or 2 weeks from now. It's like it is what it is, right?
Okay.
But I really do want to come and explore that side. Like I used to live in Toronto, so
Hmm.
I've been to Baltimore many times.
Hmm. Oh,
I
okay.
have a picture in front of uh the president. What is it? The White House. Why can't I think words today? I have
Okay.
a picture in front of the White House. We've obviously traveled, but I was young.
Yeah.
Went to a Orioles game in
Oh,
Baltimore,
cool.
things like that. But it's I'm an adult now, so like
Yeah.
obviously I need to come do these things. And I never think, hey,
Perspective.
when you think of vacation, you think, oh, I should go to New York City, or I should go to Florida, I should go to LA, places like that. But I don't, I'm such a foodie, I'm such a history buff,
Hmm.
like that would be awesome to go see that culture. I love culture.
Well, DC is steeped. Not that those other places aren't, but with DC,
Hmm.
you get American history, but that you
Hmm.
get an international flavor
Yes, of
like
course.
no place else. I mean, if you came during Embassy Week or Embassy Weekend, most of the embassies are open to the public, and you can visit Germany, you can visit France, you can visit
Oh, that's
Uzbekistan,
cool.
all right, and Ethiopia, and they're wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Well, look, if you make it happen, let me know, and my wife and I will try and meet you down there. Won't
That'd be so
intrude, but
awesome.
we'll break
No,
bread once, and
intrude.
then we'll point to a few places you can go, and yeah, and how to park your car. That's
Sounds wonderful.
uh,
Hugo says, come grab tacos if you pass by my neck of the woods. He is in North Dakota. Remind me again, Hugo, what town you were in. I know it's close to about 2 hours from Winnipeg in Canada.
okay.
So he runs a taco shop there.
Oh,
So
awesome!
not just a taco shop. It's a restaurant.
Among the many food offerings are delicious tacos. That's what we'll say.
Oh man, I could eat tacos all day, every day.
Yeah,
All right, well, moving right along here, since we are not moving right along at all. Let's talk Beethoven. This guy behind me here, I liked this background. I thought this was
excellent,
awesome.
excellent.
Hugo says Grafton. Yes, right. Grafton, North Dakota. Go grab yourself some tacos at Hugo's Taco Place
Okay.
in Grafton. All right, so this has been an interesting controversy for the last 15 years, 14 years. In 2010, the Brazilian scientists were investigating if, Beethoven's music could cure cancer. Obviously, when you have cancer, you will do literally anything to
Anything
cure
you
that
can.
cancer. Hence, me ending up in the hospital once because of it, things like that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there was research and I do not speak Spanish, so bear with me here. Uh, or no, wait, is this what I say? Brazilian? Okay, so I don't speak Portuguese. So
Portuguese.
Instituto de Biofísica Carlos Chagas Filho. I'm sorry I
Okay.
butchered that to all my Portuguese people. It's at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And so they were investigating whether music might be able to fight cancer.
Okay.
So Dr. Marcia Alves Marquez Capella and colleagues performed a series of tests in 2010 exposing dish cultures of like both healthy cells and cancerous cells to audio playbacks of different music genres.
Hmm.
In repeated tests, Dr. Capella found that recordings of Beethoven's Symphony Number 5 in C minor,
Hmm.
which is like dun 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 dun, everyone
That's
knows
the
it.
one. Yeah.
Everyone knows it. I was listening to it last night. My husband walked in. He's like, what are you listening to?" And I'm like, "I'm killing cancer.
There you
Don't
go.
worry about it. Don't worry about it." So it says it destroyed around 20% of cancer cells within a few days, and yet the healthy cells were unharmed. Another one that they found was atmospheres composed by Gheorghe Ligeti in
Hmm.
1961. I listened to that one. That was a weird song. That one
Hmm.
I didn't like. That one really bothered me when I was
That one might
listening to.
actually bring about cancer. I think.
Yeah, it was aggressive. It was angry. Whatever it was angry. And that one, he like walked into like bird calling in that one, and I was like, just don't worry about it. We're doing stuff for science here.
So,
But it says that yeah, there was no measurable changes in cell growth that were found at all for Mozart's sonata for two pianos in D major
mhm.
and other types of music. So then they were thinking like, is there a correlation here? Now, there, people have gone on to debunk this because for whatever reason. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet, as we know. The internet is
No,
full of
no,
misinformation.
no.
Uh, right. Yeah, there is. Not
I
everything you
don't
think on
believe
the
you.
internet.
Okay.
Martin, not everything on the internet is real. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
It says that, more testing was happening in 2011 as well, using different types of Brazilian samba and Brazilian funk,
Ah,
which is actually different than US funk.
okay.
Nothing the same. But yeah, so different places have gone on to debunk it, whatever. Like to me, as a person who just went through cancer, like, why not? It's not like one of those things that's going to harm you. Like, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If listening to Beethoven gets you in the right headspace, if it makes you feel better, if placebo effect works,
Hmm.
why not? Because I
Yeah.
believe in that 100%. Like, but let's see what else we saw here. There was a bunch of different articles that I've read on this, how it was debunking it here. Okay, so it says that this kind of story does resurface every once in a while, including on the Beethoven Facebook page. He's back from the dead. He's got his own Facebook page.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
it
Okay.
it says that the study did suggest that his music impacted the health of cells, but it doesn't explain how or why this occurred. And the
Sure.
team was unable to pinpoint which aspects of the music caused the effect because not just with Beethoven, with symphony in general, like you have really soft moments, you have really
Yes.
hard moments, fast,
Hmm.
slow, like it's interesting. Like you listen to a song and you could have 10 different genres in the
Hmm.
same song.
Yeah.
So it says that researchers also couldn't determine how healthy tissue might react to the same exposure. So if they took just straight healthy cells and did the same testing, what happened. It says that the one thing to see cancer cells dying in a controlled environment, it's another to claim that he can cure an entire population suffering from the disease. Now, it didn't say 100% of the disease, it's a 20% of the disease. So again, whatever that is,
Could it be a
I don't know.
tool in the toolbox? I'm thinking of a lot of
Right.
things right now. Somewhat humorously, it's like if they develop this and they find a correlation,
Yeah.
it'd be like, well, let's see, you have pancreatic cancer. I'm going to prescribe a treatment of Mozart's 40th and 41st Symphony and its
Right. Right.
Serenade for Winds, and it's a liver cancer. It's just strictly Claude Debussy. That's so. But kidding aside, there it raises a lot of questions. What is the physiological mechanism that may be stopping the growth? And if they can find that out,
Right.
that would be intriguing and interesting. But and I'm not being a scutch here. I'm thinking, okay, Beethoven, Mozart, all these composers wrote a lot of music. How do you pinpoint what's going to be the most
Which
effective.
one?
But
Exactly.
and I say this in all honesty, in all earnestness. Well, maybe different performances have it. I mean,
Right?
I could have my local, high school wind
Right.
ensemble, Beethoven's Fifth. I don't think that's curing cancer,
No.
but wait, what kind of performance does it? But it asks a lot of questions. I am skeptical of claims, and because I love music. I love classical music.
Yes.
There are things
That's
that
why I
say,
picked this
listen,
for you.
oh, thank you. That's so kind of you.
Okay.
Listen to Mozart, and your kid will become
Love
smart,
Mozart.
right? And it's
Right.
like probably not. But listen to Mozart because Mozart's music is good, and your kid might enjoy it,
Beautiful. Yes.
right? And it's its own reward. So whatever music you're
Yes.
listening to, I think Ron might have said something about your state of mind too. I mean,
Yes.
there's some music that creates instant bliss, and that's not going to hurt.
No.
That's that can only help. And
Yes.
find what that is. And for Beethoven, whose music I love, some of
Mhm.
it is agitating. And I
Yeah.
remember playing when Catherine was a little girl. I'd play all sorts of music for her. I said, "Let's try a little Beethoven." And this very mild mannered, even keeled child became very distressed very quickly
Yes.
with symphony. I'm like, yeah, maybe not so much Beethoven.
Because there's
It's
some
older.
aggressive
Right.
parts to it.
Yes. Oh God,
Yes.
yeah. Even in the fifth, and even in the ode
Yes.
to joy. Yes, yes, yes. But
Yeah.
it can really, so you gotta be careful. But it's an interesting idea. Uh, and I would say to anyone, listen to music,
Mhm.
the music that you loves that brings you bliss.
Yes.
And if you haven't listened to Beethoven, deny yourself no longer. Whether it's going to be symphony, piano concerto, violin concerto, quartet, whatever. And
Yes.
so open up the spectrum of what you listen to, but don't use that as a substitute for visiting your trusted healthcare
That's
provider
right.
or whatnot, and let that be a
Yes.
compliment. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I agree with you there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like Hugo's saying the vibrations. Now, I've heard a lot of this too, that vibrational therapies
Mm,
do actually help to cure diseases. Like, even so far as I've heard people say, or read research on
mm,
the purr of a cat has the
mm.
right vibration to bring
Interesting.
healing. So, when I was sick, I'm like, okay, cat, like
Come to
this,
me. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because, like, obviously, I didn't think that this was going to be the be all end all.
yeah,
Like if listening to Beethoven number five was, something, I would have added it to my arsenal. But I had a
right.
lot of things. It's not like I was putting my faith in one treatment and one treatment only. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it can be said, something about state of mind.
Yeah.
Your attitude is everything when you're healing. If you're doom and gloom, the world is crashing in on me, I'm a victim. I mean, you're not going to have a great recovery. If
Yeah.
you're like, you know
Uphill.
what, it's just another blip, it is what it is, and we got this, and yeah, Beethoven is gonna help me feel better. And yeah, this cat purring on me is gonna help me feel better. Yeah, like obviously it is a state of mind and it does help you to be strong enough to get through the things. So whether or not this is debunked, this Beethoven curing cancer thing, it probably is, but I like a good placebo effect.
Hmm.
So I'm into it.
I'd say go for that. Don't ignore Mozart for the calming effects. And if you're really
Love it.
really afflicted with something serious, go dig out some Ravel and Claude Debussy and Eric Satie. I think you will find ameliorative effects almost instantly. So,
Yes.
and
I love it. And obviously you can trust Martin because he is the
yes,
source all for all things culture. That's why you
God,
come on to going on daily to
mhm,
learn culture.
mhm. Well, thanks.
Okay, so tell us about applesauce. Like
Apples is all right.
applesauce? Okay.
Hey, and this is something I thought would be fun.
Okay.
Things are expensive, right?
Yes, they are.
Groceries are expensive. Things tough.
Yes.
So, all right, go do something really cool, something really cheap. Okay, go buy some apples and make
Mhm.
applesauce. There, that's it. Goodbye. No, what
That's it. Okay.
easiest
Perfect.
thing in the world to make? So delicious.
So
And
good.
yeah, so what do you need? Look, you can make as much as you want. I say get four
Mhm.
to six apples. I like a mix. I'd stay away from the Macintosh. Go for
Yeah.
Granny Smith, the delicious
Mhm.
apples, things that you use for baking.
Yeah.
Right? Get your four to six apples. What do you do?
Crab apples.
Crab apples. Okay, sure.
Make
And
a
mix,
beautiful applesauce.
yes, and mix them up to get a variety of flavor, complexity of flavor. Rinse them off, wash them off, peel off the skin. Go. You can slice it with a paring knife, or you can get one of those corers that give you, you know,
Yes. 8
perfect
slices,
pieces.
yes.
And then you get those slices and just cut them twice and
Mhm.
let them fall into a pot. All right. In the pot, maybe put a little water, fresh squeezed lemon juice,
Mhm.
um, and simmer it. Cover it up and simmer it on a low flame. And I will admit, you know, depending on how many apples you have, it's a little bit labor intensive. So,
Yeah.
you know, get your TV or get your, you know, whatever you stream stuff on, watch Going On Daily or your
Yeah,
favorite
naturally.
show
Yeah.
while you're peeling. So if it takes 20 minutes or so, whatever, you're watching TV and you can say, I'm watching TV, but I'm doing something instructive. And in a little while, you will smell the apples turning into sauce. Maybe you sprinkle a little cinnamon and you'll see it. They'll turn brown, they'll get soft. And you can either take it chunky, or if you want to get some sort of blender and you want to make it
Yes.
like a handheld blender, an immersion blender, and make it more creamy, that's up to you. I like it a little chunky. It's almost like eating pie filling. I have added no sugar. I maybe add cinnamon.
Oh,
You've got
really?
it will taste so
Mm.
good. Now, you want to plus it a little bit, throw in some raisins. Want to plus it a
Oh,
little more?
really?
Yeah,
Raisins.
throw in some raisins. Throw
Interesting.
in, you don't want to do raisins, throw in some cranberries. Make cranberry applesauce.
Interesting. Interesting.
Easiest thing in the world. Your house will smell great,
Oh,
and it's
so
like
good.
you're eating candy, and it's foolproof.
Healthy candy. Yeah.
Yes, healthy candy. You can, and here's the best part: apples not as expensive as eggs, right? But if your
Oh,
supermarket
I
has,
don't know.
you don't know me, if your supermarket has a little shelf of like old fruits and vegetables that are going bad, maybe they're a little brown,
Mhm.
and you can get them for super derp cheap. Buy all of those and
Why
make your
not?
sauce right away. It's even less expensive, and you're not
Yes.
wasting food.
Yes.
Perfectly good food. So
Great idea.
easiest thing. So do it and tell us if you did it, and tell, and everyone, your family, your friends, your loved ones will be singing praises to your name, and you have just created a delicious and inexpensive dessert or side dish.
I love it. I have an apple tree on my front yard, and for years living here, I'm like, oh, these apples, because they're all over the grass. Never thought of making anything with them. 2 years ago, 2 summers, I made applesauce, and I made a ton of applesauce, and I juiced
Mhm.
it because I was in the midst of illness,
Mhm.
so I was
Yeah.
juicing a lot of apples and carrots. And so I was like, man, I've got these crab apples. They're not sweet. They juice up
Mhm.
perfectly. But I was making, yeah, tons of applesauce with
Mm.
it. And then last summer, I didn't get any apples, and I was so sad.
Oh,
So I
mm.
think this year is the year that I'm gonna have a ton of apples.
Good.
So I'm really hoping. I'm excited for
Okay.
that.
That's great. That's
Yes,
great.
so good. All right, moving along here. I am going to talk about a group that I am a part of. I figured, why not? I don't always have to just do stuff with research. I can talk about things that I am a part of. So I am on an admin team for a group called 100 Women Who Care. It's a giving circle,
Mm.
and there's about, I think, 800, or there used to be 900. I think they're dropping down, that post COVID world,
Mm.
the inflation high, eggs cost $10 world. Things are expensive. I get that. So I think there's about 700 or 800 groups left of 100 women. But what it is a giving circle. So women
Oh.
get together in certain regions. Mine is called the tri-municipal region because there's two small towns and the country in our county nearby.
Mm.
So we get together every 4 months. Every 3 months? No, every 3 months. Sorry.
Oh, yes. 4 times a year. Okay. Cool.
Yes, 4 times a year, quarterly. And we get together at, a local restaurant. We got together just the other night at a coffee shop, and that had kept their doors open late for us. What we do is you sign up in the beginning of the year, so January.
Okay.
You pay $400. That's for the entire year. So you can join as a group of up to 4 women. So that's, $100 per person.
Okay.
Or you can join as an individual or two or three, any variation between one
Okay.
and four. That money is then split over 4 visits, 4 hangout nights. So
Okay.
$100, $100, $100, $100. Every woman who signs up has to nominate a local charity or nonprofit organization uh, to receive the money. So if every woman does it, we have multiple to choose from. We
Mhm.
pull from a hat, we pull a local charity. So this last time we had an organization that works with Indigenous, like Native youth. helping them with music. So,
Mhm.
people who have gone through tragedies and things like that, this organization will set them up with different local indigenous singer songwriters, help them
Mhm.
learn music, help them hone in on their craft if they're already doing that. It's just like a really cool organization. I'm not sure about in the States, but in Canada, native indigenous people are sort of forgotten.
Mm.
They're kind of left out. They're not treated great here.
Mm.
There's still a lot of cultural issues with like reservations and things like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So it's cool that they work with people like that. We also had a group called Pack a Care Kit who she said it started as a college assignment where, a 4-hour project, and now it's turned into a whole nonprofit where she collects freezer bags and fills them with basic hygiene items for people on the
Yeah.
streets. That can be
Yeah.
sanitary products, soaps, toothbrushes, a snack, floss, things like that. So she does that and hands them out. And she's helped, I think she's made over like 10,000 bags so far,
Mm.
just from
Wow.
this
Yeah.
college project.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, where I live, it gets real cold. So
Mm.
I mean, no one should be homeless here anyway.
No.
And yet
No.
somehow we have an insane homeless population here. The third one that we saw was called Ringette for All. So it's a Ringette program for children with
Yeah.
cognitive disabilities, physical disabilities,
Mhm.
just teaching them how to play a sport because you know what? Every kid should have access to
Oh,
sports
yeah.
regardless of limitation.
Sure.
So those were just the three random ones that we had picked
Mhm.
for that event. A representative from each organization comes. They share what they are all about, what
Mhm.
they could use the money for, if it's going to be, buying more supplies for those freezer bags, if it's for, I think the Ring Association wanted to help lower registration costs and ice time and things like that. So they tell their stories. The women collectively will vote, and it is anonymous. They'll
Mhm.
vote for who should be awarded the money, and
Okay.
all of those registration costs that were divided up by four is pooled and then just given to the organization with the most votes.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple
Sure.
model for
Mhm.
sure. It is hard when you see two not being awarded. It's
Oh,
sad.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Oh,
It
that's a
pulls
little
at
bit
your
of a heartbreak.
heartstrings for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
It pulls at the heartstrings, but those names do go back into the running and could be drawn again,
Okay.
the next season.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it's just such a worthy organization. And pre-COVID, I think we had about. I wasn't on the admin team then, but I think we had about 78 people, so $7,800 being donated every quarter to a
Mhm.
local organization. Our numbers are much lower, obviously now, but any money, like anyone who tells you if they're part of a charity, any money helps, any donation
Yeah.
helps. And so just to get the awareness out there, get women in our community to know about what they're all about, that this even exists.
Mhm.
It's awesome. And I've loved being on the admin, these past 2 years where I haven't been back to work. It's been a really nice distraction for
Yeah.
me, just feeling like I'm doing something good for the community. Not that I'm trying to
Absolutely.
be self-serving by any means, but like
No, no.
I love to give back, and it's nice to feel like I'm in a position to be able to do that, even though I am off work. I'm not getting a paycheck like I once was, but I'm still able to take that money and give it to people who could actually use it. Right? What am I going to
Mhm.
buy? Starbucks with it?
Right.
So
Okay.
like
Sure.
so I love it. So check out 100 Women Who Care. Just Google it. I think it's
Mhm.
100carealliance.org is their
Okay.
website. You can go check it out and see if there are these groups in your area. They're all over the world. It started, I believe, in Arizona.
Mm.
It's yeah, a dozen eggs can be bought.
There
I'm
you
kidding,
go.
man. Get out of here. But yeah, like realistically, like how hard it is for
Yeah.
just us middle folk here. How hard it is. Can you imagine if you were impoverished or
Yeah, if
not?
there's any kind of economic vulnerability all of
I
a
ha
sudden.
I see posts all the time on, like, our local chat page on Facebook. "Hey, does anybody have any extra food? I have nothing for my kids." Like,
Mm. Mm.
heartbreak, and you don't know
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
situation. They might be lying, they might be faking it, they might be spending their money on drugs and alcohol, but, like, at the end of the day, like, if I can help somebody, I
Mhm.
will. right? You know,
Yeah.
don't buy Starbucks. Hugo, I know. But
Don't put-
I'm lately I just love a good iced coffee. And the way I look at it, I don't love buying from corporations. I would much
Mhm,
rather buy from a local business. However, I have a good friend who works at the local Starbucks, and I know that it helps her family. You know, a
mhm.
paycheck for her helps her family. So
Awesome.
that's the way I look at it. They could always use more money. So that's the way I look at it. Not getting some CEO richer in
There we
Seattle, getting her family
go.
their bills paid.
Well, good for you for doing that. I think it's
Yeah,
a
thanks.
marvelous idea. For,
It's
first of
cool.
all, there's a social aspect to it too. And
Yes.
again, not that it's self-serving, but you have a reason to get together. You can come
Yeah.
together and go out on a drinking binge. You can get together
Yeah.
and go to a movie. Look, fine, not judging. Or you can get together, be with people you know or you
Yeah.
care about,
Yeah.
and do something good. And it makes me think of something my daughter is very keen. About and brought to my attention. It's like, look, there's a lot of need in the world,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
we're not going to solve all the problems.
No.
And you or I can't scale up to do
Mhm.
anything, but there are people out there with just a little something can have a profound difference in their life. And so the idea is, how can you profoundly change someone's situation with a minimum contribution of one thing or another?
Yeah.
And with just a few dollars here, some food there, money to apply for college there that I didn't have. These little things can have an
Yeah.
extraordinary impact. You can
Yes.
leverage that, and it's a good way to go through life, realizing, seeing where you can do a little bit to change something in a profound way. So you're doing that with that group, and that's a wonderful idea, and I was glad to learn of it.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat here, all one word, 100 women who care tri-region is,
Yeah.
the one that I run or am
Mhm.
running. My mom's on it, my best friend's on it, as far the admin goes, and a couple of other ladies.
Okay.
And yeah, we're just trying to bring awareness to groups that need our help. The amount of people who, we're all in our bubbles. Like, we don't
Yeah.
know that there's people struggling, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all
Yeah.
just focused on the price of eggs right now. But
Yeah.
the thing is, like, we can still afford to go get eggs.
Mhm.
Like, we complain about it, but we still can go do it. So, it's bringing awareness to other groups that are in
Yeah.
town. And plus, we're also, highlighting local businesses who open their doors for us, who, you might not have known. Like, so many people came this past time, said, I had no idea this store had a coffee shop, because it's a clothing store, but it has a
Mm.
little coffee shop in it. So now it gets them more business. So it just really gets the word
Right.
out there. It's a fun opportunity to go and hang out and meet some ladies and just
Mhm.
do good in the world. So check us
Well,
out, 100 Women Who Care Tri Region. Even if you're not in our region, most of our viewers are American. You can still
yeah.
give us a follow on our social.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Why
Well,
not?
let's get into our last topic
Okay.
here. The funniest people you do not know.
All right. So I had two people I categorized like that. Maybe I'll just do one, save the other one for another time since we're running late on time. But
Okay.
in the last couple of weeks, a lot of talk about Saturday Night Live. It's in its 50th year. I talked about the show, I think, last week and what it meant to me, having
Hmm.
watched it from episode one.
Right.
But revisiting some of those old shows,
Hmm.
a couple of people came up, and I said to myself, these are the funniest people whom most people don't know about, but have contributed significantly to the world of entertainment and humor. And the two I'm thinking of are Don Novella and Buck Henry. And
Okay.
I'll focus on one of them today. We'll save the other one for some
Okay.
time.
Sure.
So let's talk about Buck Henry. Does that
Okay.
name ring a bell to you?
No, it doesn't, but I'm
Okay.
Googling as we speak. Okay.
Okay. So Buck Henry, writer, actor, director, comedian. He was one of the hosts of during the first season of Saturday Night Live
Oh,
and
okay.
became a beloved regular host. I think he hosted
Oh,
it
no way.
over 10 times. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And but of course, in the high profile of that TV show in that time frame in the 70s,
Mhm.
got some face recognition that he might not otherwise have had. But
Mm.
prior to that, he co-authored the screenplay for a little film you may have heard called The Graduate.
Yes.
He was one of the authors of that.
Wow.
He also performs in The Graduate. Small scene. He's a
Right.
hotel clerk. One of the funniest scenes in a very funny
I was
movie.
gonna yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
He was one of the co-authors of that wonderful satire Catch 22. He also performs in that.
Hmm.
Uh, he is one of the. I think he is the principal author of I think the funniest film ever made, called "What's Up, Doc," which starred Barbara Streisand and
Uh-huh.
tons of other people. If you have not
Interesting.
seen "What's Up, Doc," deny yourself no longer and go
Okay.
watch "What's Up, Doc"
What's
today.
up, Doc
Um,
movie?
and
Okay.
but he was he wrote that screenplay. He wrote a screenplay
Awesome.
for a film called The Day of the Dolphin, which is
Okay.
not a comedy at all. It's sort of a thriller about a biologist who teaches dolphins to speak, and then they're kidnapped to perform acts of terrorism. And
Uh, okay.
it's a great movie starring George C. Scott. And I was maybe 10 years old when I saw it, and I actually
What's that
cried.
movie called?
The Day of the Dolphin.
The Day
Uh,
of the Dolphin.
Day of the
Okay.
Dolphin. George
And
C. Scott.
he's in it as well?
No, he's not in it.
Oh, he's
He
just
wrote the
wrote it.
screenplay, but that film made me cry. Not many movies have made me cry, and it
Really?
still does. Very touching. So Buck Henry he's got his hands in everything. He is a co-creator of the great television comedy of the 1960s that I know Ron loves, Get Smart.
Oh,
Co-created
Get
that
Smart. Oh,
with
okay.
Mel
Wow.
Brooks. So
That's
when you
cool.
look at the body of this man's work, he is
Yeah.
and tons of other stuff. I could talk about it now for what Buck Henry's done. He's got his hands in everything, and he is creating comedy and movies and art and stuff that we know and love and inspired others. Even though we really don't know, he's not John Belushi, he's not Bill Murray, he
Right.
doesn't have that kind of name
Right.
recognition. But they will all tell you, they will all look to Buck Henry and say he's the real deal.
He's the
Now I'll
guy.
leave you with one thought. On Saturday Night Live, he had a recurring character. I think they did the sketch 3 or 4 times,
Okay.
called Uncle Roy, and Uncle Roy was
Right.
a pedophile. Okay,
Of
and
course he was.
now you say what's funny about that? It's controversial, and this is
Well,
why. Yes,
at a different time as well.
a different time, but I would say this: the brilliance of the satire of Uncle Roy is not that we're laughing at how cute pedophilia is,
Right. No.
but the governing principle was the parents were out to lunch. They're like, Roy, the kids love
Right.
you. You're too good for. And what happens in every iteration of the sketch, as he is taking advantage of the young ladies, and they had adult women playing the young girls.
Yes.
The parents come back unexpectedly. They forgot something. If we got our wallet, and they're like, "What's going on here?" And he was doing something horrible. And he goes, "Oh, I was just thought I'd help with the laundry." And they're like, "Roy, you're too good for us. You spoil us." And they.
Jeez.
And so what the real object of that satire is not pedophilia is cute. It's
No.
parents,
No.
open your eyes and see what is
Right.
happening right under your nose.
Right.
And that is the genius of Buck Henry. His satire is intelligent. It's
Interesting.
multi-layered. Will always make you laugh, which is important, but it will make you think.
Interesting.
And so hats off to Buck Emery. He died in, I think, oh my
20,
goodness,
it said.
2020. Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
Lived a rich, full life.
Yeah.
And
70 years old.
yeah, go watch if viewers, if you have not seen What's Up, Doc.
Yeah. I
It
want to
is,
go watch that.
yeah, Ryan O'Neal, Barbara Streisand, and a host of
Okay.
others. Incredibly satisfying and funny film. So
Oh, I'm
hats off
excited.
to the great Buck Henry.
Yes. And I'm excited to learn about Don Novello
Okay, we'll
next
see
week, I
that.
guess, or
All right,
later this week.
maybe next week we'll do Don Novella. Yeah,
That's right. All right. Well, that puts us over our time today. Thank you
yeah,
everyone for joining. Today was an informative show, get the word out there. There's a lot to talk about. Sometimes we're, really funny and say stupid stuff, and sometimes we, hit more serious topics or, more cultured topics, but I love it. That's the cool thing about this show is that every day is something totally different.
yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Ron, again for your comments and your moderating. Hugo, Kyle, thank you for being here. Check us out tomorrow. Now, Ron has changed it. It was supposed to be Ira and Kenny. It is now Ira and Ron. So that will be a great show. I am back either Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure. So check us
Okay.
out tomorrow anyway, and you'll find out who's here later on in the week.
All right. Have a good week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.